And West Asia continues to simmer. According to reports, an explosion occurred at a military base in Iraq early on Saturday, causing a large fire. According to an Interior Ministry source and a military official, the explosion hit the Kalso base, where former pro-Iranian paramilitary group Hashd al-Shabi, now integrated into the regular army, is stationed. According to the authorities, the attack had killed one person and wounded 8 others, while the military source reported 3 Iraqi military personnel had also been wounded. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the attack, although the US military command has come out and clarified that its forces were not behind the reported strike. The attack comes on the backdrop of Iranian state media reporting explosions in the Isfahan province. Reports now suggest that missiles and drones were used for a limited attack on Iran, although a senior Iranian official says that Tehran has no plan for immediate retaliation. While several Iranian nuclear sites are located in Isfahan province, including Natanz, which is the centerpiece of Iran's uranium enrichment program. The International Atomic Energy Agency has now confirmed that there has been no damage to the nuclear sites. On Thursday, a senior Iranian Revolutionary Guards commander said that Iran could review its nuclear doctrine following Israeli threats. The remarks further raised concerns about Tehran's nuclear program, which it has always said was strictly for peaceful purposes. Well, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has the last say on Tehran's nuclear program and facilities there. The attack in Isfahan came days after Iran's drone attack on Israel, which sparked fears of a major escalation in West Asia. In what seems like an escalation between Israel and Iran, American media is quoting sources and saying that it was an Israeli attack on Iran, although Israel is yet to confirm if they had carried out the strike. On the other hand, the Americans are maintaining a strategic silence on the reported Israeli strike on Iran, asserting that it has no role to play in any offensive action. And for more on this, Peter Kuznick, a professor of history and director of the Nuclear Studies Institute at American University, is joining us live from Washington, D.C. Good morning to you, Professor, and thanks for your time. Now, we have reports of missiles being used in what is being called a limited attack. Now, both Israel and Iran have played it down. What's your view on this matter? Can one conclude that it is the end of direct attacks between Israel and Iran, and the world can finally expect de-escalation?
It looked like the direct attacks on Israel and Iran had ended after Israel's very limited strike yesterday against Isfahan in Iran. But now tonight we've got this explosion in Iraq, and the Iranians and the Iraqis are pointing the finger at Israel. Israel and the United States are denying this, but what it shows is that the situation in the region is so volatile, so precarious, that anything could trigger it now. And so while it looks like both Iran and Israel were trying to tamp it down and downplay and minimize the latest round of attacks on each other, this is a major development. The Iranians attacked Israel from Iranian soil, and the Israelis apparently responded from Israeli soil, attacking each other, which was a major escalation. But the Israeli response was deliberately designed not to further escalate the situation, which really began on April 1st with the Israeli attack on the Iranian diplomatic facility in Damascus. So we are already seeing this tit-for-tat cycle of retaliation. However, the ladder of escalation seemed to be slowed, and there seemed to be a deliberate effort on both countries' parts to prevent this from escalating further into a broad regional war. And we know that a regional war, you look at what the Iranians sent at Israel the other night, between 300 and 350 missiles and drones that were used to attack Israel. Well, the estimate is that Hezbollah in Lebanon has 150,000 rockets and missiles and drones. So if they could try to overwhelm the Israeli defense system with 300 or 350, imagine the damage that would be done if there was a full-scale attack from Hezbollah or from Iran or from Iran's proxies in the area. So we are in a very precarious situation at a very crucial moment, and we are hoping that cooler heads prevail on all sides and do everything that's necessary to tamp this down and to look for a ceasefire in Gaza and a diplomatic resolution to an untenable and very dangerous situation.
Right. So you speak of how the ladder of escalation has rather slowed down in West Asia at the moment. The pertinent question being is that has this de-escalation happened on its own, or do you think there is another player or entity involved? And if so, who is the player?
I think that none of the principals want to see an escalation and a broadening right now. There is a lot of pressure within the Israeli cabinet from the extreme right-wingers for a much more demonstrative, decisive, dramatic response from Israel to the Iranian drone attack, which is being portrayed as excessive, as much bigger than the Israelis were expecting. So we know the security cabinet member and other cabinet members, the extreme right-wingers, are putting pressure on Netanyahu to respond much more strongly, fiercely, destructively to the Iranian attack. There are also elements inside Iran. The hardliners there want to see much more aggressive action on Iran's part. The region has a lot of extremists on all sides. There are Islamic extremists, there are Jewish extremists, and then you've got the United States, which has very little influence right now with the Netanyahu government. And so, plus the other actors throughout the region make this an explosive situation, which is why diplomacy immediately is so crucial, because we could even get a war happening, even though none of the principal players want to see that happen. That doesn't mean it can't happen by mistakes, miscalculations, accidents. This situation is just too volatile at the moment.
Right, Mr. Kuznick. Thank you so much for taking our time and joining us here on WION with your insights.
Thank you.